my name is Martin. Welcome back to another video. So, scratch beneath the surface of any modern city and you will find things that have long since gone. And that's what this video is about, Lost Manchester. We're looking for things that are disappeared. Some of them are within living memory, some of them have long since gone and are forgotten forever. So, where are we this week? Manchester, of course. We've got 4 things, 2 in the city centre and 2 out towards Trafford. That's the order that they're going to appear in, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Let's crack on. So, we're going to go to a couple of pubs, do a few intros and a few pubs, just to bring a bit of the old traditional Manchester back into it. Well, let's go as we look at 4 things that constitute Lost Manchester. I'm going to introduce the first thing from the Hare and Hounds on Shoot Hill in Manchester. Proper traditional pub this, look at this. Cheers. Thank you. Happy birthday to me.
It was stunk down through there.
Right, this is my absolute favourite. Honestly, I'm blown away by this thing, and it only lasted 38 years. We're going out to Trafford Park. Right, Trafford Park, Manchester. Trafford Park being one of the first industrial estates in the world. The area used to have a big manor house on it and it was like country grounds. It got sold because the owners, when they were building the Manchester Ship Canal, the owners didn't want to be in the grounds of the Manchester Ship Canal. They couldn't see the point of it. I've got a photograph to show you. I want you to clock a couple of things. I want you to clock that because we're just underneath where Trafford Park station is. So I want you to clock that and I want you to clock that bridge there. That bridge now carries a disused railway line. It looked like it was a branch into one of the huge factories that were over here. I'm going to show you a view from the middle of the road, then I'm going to show you a photograph and I'm going to introduce you to one of our Lost Manchester items. Come here, park it, middle of the road. Right, there you go, that's your view, but it'll be taken from no more near the pavement with the corner work of the brickwork. Disused railway bridge. Looking beyond there, Park Road. Here's the photograph. Okay, so here we are on Moss Road in Trafford Park. And we know that our photograph was taken just here near Trafford Park Station, looking this way. I'll just zoom in a bit for you. Looking this way underneath the railway bridge towards here, Taylor's Bridge. This is a disused railway, all right? So this is our current modern unit. Let's take time back. I'm going to pull out here a little bit. Let's take time back, and there you go, to a map that's around about the early 1900s. And there you go, you've got Westinghouse Works, electrical and mechanical engineering. There you go, which would later become Metropolitan Vickers. But as we go down here, back towards Taylor's Bridge, over the Bridgewater Canal, there is our water tower. That's where it stood, just on the other side of the bridge here, with what looks like the factory's own railway system around it. There it is, folks, the water tower. Fantastic. Right, so here we are, Taylor's Bridge, and the Metrovic factory was there. The old Westinghouse factory was there. So the original Westinghouse factory was built in 1902 and they needed a water tower to run the sprinkler system and to power hydraulics within the factory, lifting mechanisms and all sorts of stuff, and they built that tower there. You'll see there's a big unit there, a modern unit there. There's a famous photograph of this bridge with hundreds and hundreds of people coming out of the factory at closing time, at home time. This is the south entrance to the Metrovic factory. But there, on the corner, was where the tower was, that beautiful, beautiful tower. So initially it was the Westinghouse factory and it opened in 1902. Later it became Metropolitan Vickers. That's a whole other story, but Metro Vickers was a massive, massive company. They made all sorts of stuff. I'm probably showing you pictures now of some of the things they made, turbines and all sorts of things. And one of the turbines links us to another thing on this list of 4. Only lasted 38 years because something happened, as we know, in 1939, and the tower lasted from 1902 to 1940. Marcus is now going to tell you what happened to the tower.
So in 1940 they actually chopped it down because it was a navigational aid for the German bombers at the time.
Yes, indeed. So some of these things that have gone, you sort of like mourn the loss and think, why was it taken down? But in a way, this beautiful tower was taken down for a reason, because the, you know, Metropolitan Vickers would have been a massive target for the German bombers, and the tower was basically pointing the way, you know what I mean, navigational aid. So they chopped it down. Now, they mounted an anti-aircraft gun on top of it to help defend the factory. And amazingly, we've got a photo, a bit of a bad photo of it in its chopped down state when it were. You can't see the anti-aircraft gun on top, but take a look at this. Okay, so here we go. Britain from above, 1932. You can see the bridge there going over the Bridgewater Canal, and the Metrovic Tower, or the Westinghouse Tower, is stood nice and proud and fulfilling its role. Cut forward to 1946 and a different angle on the tower, and you can see it's been chopped down, and they probably would have by now removed the anti-aircraft gun, but 1946, just after the war, and you can see by now it's a shadow of its former self. So they're quite sad. Now, another interesting fact about the Westinghouse Tower for you. It had a second role. It was moonlighting as a transmitter. Back on the 14th of November 1922, the BBC put out its first broadcast from the Marconi building in the Strand in London. But in order to go national, they relied on a relay of towers around the relay of transmitters around the country. And our Metrovic Tower, our Westinghouse Tower, fulfilled that role. It was given the call sign of 2ZY, and it broadcast a regional mix of programmes. I've got a list of some of the programmes it broadcast here. Let's take a look. So after the initial call up, we had the Lady of the Magic Carpet. Then we had a late news bulletin, and then Uncle Humpty Dumpty and the Lady of the Magic Carpet again. And then a transmission of, sounds like some classical music, a waltz. Then Mr. X's Corner, conducted by Mr. Buckley, more music. Gardening Notes with Mr. Langford. And then some more classical music and some, looks like some singing, doesn't it? Then late news, and then violin records, and then a final announcement and good night. So the studio was the original studio was a converted office in Metrovic's research building with thick carpets and heavy curtains to dampen the noise. And the transmitter aerial was strung between the water tower and the main building, which was a distinctive feature of the site. So there you go. Now, amazingly, we've got here, and I didn't know this was here, but there might be an original feature. Not sure, think it is, but let's go and check it out. Run, Parky, run! Come on! Roy's down here, he's trying to show us something.
Yeah, so what we've got here is, we've got the post for the actual gate Martin was talking about. If you come round here, Parky, there is the original gate, or part of it, right? And if you look along the fence line in a minute, we'll take the GoPro up, you can have a look at the original fencing as well from the factory. This has just been left forlorn now.
I don't know, but it looks like the original gate because it's very specific in its design. It's almost Art Deco, right? And you just wouldn't get a gate like this these days. And there's another post down there as well. Incredible. Amazing. Not everything's lost, eh? So there you go. I cannot get over how amazing that tower was. What a thing. Lost Manchester, definitely. The Metropolitan Vickers water tower. Actually, the Westinghouse factory water tower. But what a beautiful thing. Anyway, I better shut up because I'm gushing, Anna, like you do. So from Trafford Park, we're moving on back to the pub. Let's go. Traditional bar. Traditional bar.
So now we're going to look at Riverside Living.
Yes, Riverside Living indeed, but not the kind of Riverside Living these days where you get a nice plush flat. And the fact that it's on the riverside, it puts a few extra grand on the price of it with your kitchenette. But anyway, we digress. We're talking 19th century Riverside Living here. This is the Irwell, and here there's a photograph of some really old, dilapidated, horrible buildings that were here. Quite often on the side of these rivers, there was land that nobody wanted because it was prone to flood and there was rats and it was just unbuildable. But nevertheless, in the 19th century, you had unscrupulous landlords that would decide to clear it, employ some bricklayers and build some housing on the side of the river. Absolutely horrible stuff. The stuff we really call slums, one brick thick. We could talk a lot about the state of housing in the 19th century throughout Britain, let alone Manchester. But I'm going to give you a quote here now from a historian, Mike Neville, that's been quite active around the Manchester area. Houses were built close together and more were infilled wherever there was room. A courtyard was a grand name for a warren of badly built, cramped and insanitary dwellings. The alleyways between the houses were often no more than a metre or two wide, and in those conditions sunlight rarely penetrated the ground. One such place was over here. They're difficult to pinpoint these days, but it was called Irwell Buildings. And it's one of those rare occasions where a place on a map you can match with the photograph, and we can get a glimpse into Irwell Buildings and what it may have been like to live there. We need to go across the river to St Mary's Parsonage over here. Right, so this is St Mary's Parsonage and here is the river, these buildings back onto the river. Very different to how it used to be, but somewhere along here was a little ginnel, a little alleyway that went into Irwell Buildings. I'm going to show you a map and then going to show you a picture, because like I say, it's a rare moment where a picture matches the map. This is a map from the 1890s, and what we'll do is we'll zoom in here now, and we've got the River Irwell here and Blackfriars Bridge. And what we're interested in is a place here just opposite St Mary's Church, which has gone now. And I filmed for you here on St Mary's Parsonage. Well, long since gone is Irwell Buildings. And like I say, we can get a glimpse into what this place was like. What we've got here is this. What I've learned is this cross here represents a passageway through, and then we've got a line with an L. That's rather curious. Then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we've got the buildings themselves. And this here would have been a courtyard, I imagine, and I'm guessing this is lower than these buildings because we're on a riverbank here. And then we've got another passageway here that led down towards the Irwell, and you can see there was quite a few here. There's another passageway here, there's some steps going down to the Irwell, and another passageway here, and another one here that went down to the press house steps here. So I've got a photograph that can match this and throw some light onto just what we're looking at here. Let's take a look at that photograph. So there you go, we're standing at the entrance to the alleyway that led to Irwell Buildings. A tantalising glimpse into Victorian Manchester. The L that we saw on the map was the lamp above the entranceway to the shared courtyard, and the three buildings either side were the shared privies, the toilets basically. And then in front of us is what looks like quite a welcoming little house. It's got curtains up, nets up. It's certainly got curtains up, but above the windows are smashed. So maybe this is just before demolition. But I was absolutely drawn into this photograph and I just think it's wonderful. So the buildings would have been at a low level down here. You would have got a nice view of the bridge there, but the sodden, horrible, stinking at the time, polluted Irwell would have probably washed up to the bottom of your building. Depending on where you lived in the building, you would have been prone to floods or probably the stink. So there you go, that is Irwell Buildings. Depressing but fantastic to think that it used to be here. And what would it have been like to have lived there? Don't bear thinking about. Okay, so for this one, we're back over in Trafford Park in Manchester, or near Trafford Park. Have you ever been to the Trafford Centre shopping? Well, the Trafford Centre's like a massive shopping complex. In other places they call it the Mall. This is an area called Dumplington, I think, Dumplington. And you'll see I'm here at B&Q. Now, if you're from the UK, you'll know what B&Q is. If you're from abroad, B&Q is a sort of like do-it-yourself place. It's from everything from plumbing equipment, builders equipment, garden equipment. You can get it here at B&Q. However, B&Q occupies one of the sites of our 4 lost things. Something that's gone without a trace, right, forever. There is a clue I'm going to show you now behind the camera. So, Roy, tell us what used to occupy this site until 1979?
Right, so it was Barton Power Station. Yeah, construction began in 1920 and it was operational in 1923. It's situated on the south side of the Bridgewater Canal, and coal was brought in from barges. It was a coal-fired power station, very unique of its time, really.
Okay, so just very quickly allow me to show you where we are. We are in West Manchester. We're going out this way. Old Trafford is here, the football ground and the cricket ground. That's where our Metrovic Tower was, and we're over here by the Barton Swing Aqueduct, which takes the Bridgewater Canal over the Ship Canal. There you go. So West Manchester, and there's our B&Q. So we're going to be looking at this area here, just to the west of the city centre. So here we go, Britain from above, 1929. And that's quite an early image for Britain from above. Most of them are usually just post-war. This is the Bridgewater Canal, and this here is the Manchester Ship Canal. And we know that the Bridgewater is at a higher level and will go over the Manchester Ship Canal. But here we've got Barton Power Station. And would you look at that? Look at the detail on that. As someone that started taking photographs in the digital era around about 2003, I did have a film camera, but I'm always amazed at the resolution on these photographs. Absolutely incredible. And you can see here from the Bridgewater Canal, the boats came in here, and you've got your coal barges here that brought the coal for the power station, and you've got massive stocks of coal here. Look at this. Incredible. And next to it you've got the railway as well, which I don't doubt would have also brought in stocks as well. In fact, there's a branch here going round all the way around the site. Incredible. And what's also incredible about it is I think it was quite unique in that it didn't have cooling towers. Now, I don't know how it worked. There'll be some experts that will know how it worked, but it took water from the Ship Canal up here, and it returned it to the Ship Canal, cooling water for the turbines. And there's a link to Metropolitan Vickers, because some of the turbines were made at Metropolitan Vickers, I presume just down the road, and this literally is just down the road from our first feature on this Lost Manchester. But what a sight, what a sight. And it's incredible to believe that this thing is now a B&Q. A B&Q. So, obviously, for most of these things, they've gone, and Barton Power Station has gone forever, but we're looking for little things, little subtle reminders that may give a clue as to what was here. I want to take you along the Bridgewater Canal to the towpath here. See how it rises up? Let's go down here now to the Bridgewater Canal and take a look at this area and where the boats came in here. So, you will notice just down from the Ship Canal, the towpath here starts to rise upwards, and we suspect that this was the little bridge over where the coal boats went into the wharf for Barton Power Station. So here we are at the top of the raised part of the towpath. On the right is the Bridgewater Canal, and if we look over, there you go, you can see at one time the boats would have gone in there underneath this sort of bridge. And what I'm going to do now is going to run across this raised area, and we'll look on the other side, and hopefully, and this is what I was hoping, we could see like a bit of a cut on the other side, or the remains of the canal branch that went to the power station. But unfortunately it has been completely filled in. There's nothing left. But that's where they went into the power station. Now I'm going to show you that sort of wharf that was on the other side of this. Now take a look at this photograph. There you go. So in the far distance there, you can just see the hump that we've just been walking over off the Bridgewater Canal. That's where the canal boats came in. Right, so I'm just going to leave you with a little montage now, memories of Barton Power Station, and then we're going to try and look at some more evidence of its existence, because we had a bit of a theory. But anyway, crack on with these pictures. Okay, so some very brief details about the power station. It did indeed have 3 Metropolitan Vickers 27.5 megawatt turbo alternators and 9 Babcock and Wilcox chain grate stoked boilers. There you go. It also says coal was delivered to the station in barges using the Bridgewater Canal. Steam condensing and cooling was by water abstracted from the Manchester Ship Canal. It was further extended in 1938. So there you go. You can read more online if you need to. Okay, so given our experience with Stockport Power Station and the water intake tunnels, we asked the question, where did the water come from to cool all the turbines and all the mechanisms in here? Well, as we know, it came from the Ship Canal, and we think this here was where the water intake was, that clearly must have ran underneath here, underneath the canal and into the power station. And the reason I'm saying that is because it did take water from it's documented it took water from the Ship Canal, and this looks incredibly suspicious. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a walk down here. We encounter a bit of a red herring here. We're going to take a walk down here and try and find this and see if it's still there or if there's a tunnel there. I doubt that there is, but let's go and take a look down this side of the Ship Canal. And it's not an easy ask because this is quite inaccessible now. So Marcus has found something, we suspect.
Storage.
Interesting. Look at this. Look at this. Hard to tell what it was. Very hard to tell what it was.
I would say some kind of storage, or even go as far as saying coal bunkers, because you can get up the stairs here.
Yeah,
but
you wouldn't store coal here, would you?
No, I don't know. Right, this is all old, look at that.
Yeah, we'll just go down here. Look at this.
Cables. There would have been cables.
Cables.
Chop them.
Cables.
Some kind of landing stage and some weird shaft thing here, what's that?
Some landing stage for a boat. There's a thing there where we're always going up.
Just another mooring point.
Okay, so what are we looking at, this landing stage? It has to be this, or the remains of this, which I think was for the oil depot here. A little train there, look at that. The resolution's incredible, isn't it? But this is what we're looking at. I think this landing stage here, which is difficult to work out now how it would have been at the time, but I think this is what we're encountered. Bit of a red herring because we thought this may have been the water intake. We're going to carry on walking along here now to this point here to see what it's like. We think this might be it. Look at all this broken up concrete, and it's old concrete, and we think this may be covering the tunnel that took the water in. So we think that other thing we saw may have been a landing stage. This is definitely power station related because this is on the map where I suspected it would be. Anything over there, Marky?
The concrete's very old concrete, look at it.
Yeah.
Reinforced, and this mouth, it's actually a mouth.
Yeah.
See the bedrock there with it?
Yeah. This definitely relates on the map to what I was looking at. The old railings here. See the old blue railings? Very old. This So I think the thing we saw before was a landing stage. This whole area is, like Roy says, it's a mouth. I think this was the intakes. There would have been a tunnel underneath that lot there that went in. I think it went down and fed the power station. That's the back of B&Q there, we've showed you in front of before. This is definitely something to do with it, just been backfilled. So I can confirm we were actually there, but that photo was taken almost 100 years ago now. We can only speculate that was the water intake tunnels, but it does look very suspicious. So we did make it there, and you've seen the way it is now, just a load of smashed concrete, but certainly underneath there is some hidden infrastructure, but impossible to get to nowadays. So the power station closed on the 18th of March 1974, and demolition started in 1978. The first chimney was blasted in 1979 apparently, and I've got to credit David Humphreys for these photos, because I did find them on Facebook, and I think he'd been around at the time, took the photos. So thank you, David Humphreys, for having the presence of mind to take those photos. Hope you don't mind me using them. So RIP, the very beautiful Barton Power Station. So, for this one, Marcus is going to introduce it from the Lower Turk's Head on Shoedill in Manchester. Try and say something hilarious.
Can I have a flake with this, bro? Now, shopping Victorian style.
Yes, Victorian shopping indeed. So here I'm in Cathedral Gardens, and just over here is what we call in Manchester Urbis. It was built in the early 2000s as a kind of like museum type piece. Didn't work, and it's now the National Football Museum. But Cathedral Gardens is sandwiched between two streets, Todd Street next to Manchester Victoria Station and Fennell Street. So I'm just going to show you now, so you've got your bearings, Todd Street and Fennell Street, where they are. Okay, so over there, where you see those buildings there, right, that is Fennell Street. That is Fennell Street. And you used to be able to drive down it. It's a continuation of Whitby Grove. If we go pan round the gardens, there's Urbis, and over there is Manchester Victoria Station, and where you see those vehicles, that's Todd Street. So where I'm standing now used to be some old Victorian buildings, and for years and years and years after they got demolished, this was a car park, like they did in the 70s, demolished buildings and then kind of did nothing with the land, and it was just like a rough car park full of potholes. Anyway, so you get the concept of this piece of land being Cathedral Gardens, sandwiched either side by Todd Street and Fennell Street. Now if you look at the old maps, there used to be something that ran between the two streets called Lancaster Avenue, which is a bit strange for me because the first street I ever lived on as a baby was Lancaster Avenue. Anyway, by the by, it was an arcade of shops, and I'm going to show you pictures now. It was known as Lancaster Arcade, but officially Lancaster Avenue. Let's go back on the maps and look at some old pictures as well. Okay, so this map is 1948 to 1973, and there is Fennell Street, and there is Todd Street. And just to give it some context for you, there's Victoria Station, and this is the front of Victoria Station. People will know this. Let's zoom back in. This is where I've just been talking to you from, round here in what is now Cathedral Gardens, and you can see at one time there was lots and lots of buildings here. Here's Corporation Street, if you know Manchester, and Balloon Street, the trams go up there. Anyway, there you go. So Urbis is around about here, the big building I showed you, but look at what used to be there in between. We've got something called Lancaster Avenue. Lancaster Avenue. Now what that was that ran between Todd Street and Fennell Street was an arcade of shops, a very old sort of Victorian arcade of shops. It became known as Lancaster Arcade, but its official name was Lancaster Avenue, and it was undercover as it's showing you here, and it just ran between the two streets. So As always, we've got some photos of it. It was proper Victorian shopping and probably outdated in the mid-70s when it finally disappeared. But let's go now and take a stroll along Lancaster Avenue or Lancaster Arcade, whatever you want to call it, and we'll try and get a glimpse into something that is now, some people may remember, but is now long since gone. So firstly, this picture, probably 1980s, the buildings have now gone. Behind the bus you'll see the end of a building and you can see it's clearly been demolished. I think that might have been the entrance to Lancaster Arcade. Here we've got the entrance to Lancaster Arcade off Todd Street, and you can see it's busy and bustling, and this is dated I think 1971. And then we've got another entrance here. I'm guessing this is the Fennell Street entrance, and again you can see where it came out, back out onto the street. Lots of shops in there, seems like quite a busy arcade. So I'm going to leave you now and let you do a little bit of walking and browsing through Lancaster Arcade. And unfortunately, the arcade must have fallen into disrepair and out of popularity and was demolished in 1977. I was 10 in 1977. I could have seen it if I'd have come down at the right time and the right place, or certainly seen it in its closed state. There was a rumour that it was a former women's prison, and you sort of can understand where that came from because it had landings and everything, but I think I read something where a retail historian had talked about this place and said it definitely wasn't a women's prison. Where they think the rumour may have come from is that some of the materials used were from the old prison up on Hyde Road, which I did a video on and which was pulled down like the late 1800s. Again, I think that's a bit far-fetched. I think the landings maybe made people think it was a prison. I'm not quite sure. So there you go, Lancaster Arcade, long since gone. I think if Lancaster Arcade was around today, it would definitely have been preserved. But there you go, gone forever. 1977, it was closed and pulled down. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Parky's disguised himself as soap on a rope. Roy. I hope you enjoyed watching as much as we enjoyed making this video. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.